You know what's funny? So many people spend all this time trying to figure out what to say, what text to send, what move to make, as if attraction is this complicated game with secret codes to crack. But do you want to know the real secret? The most attractive thing you can do is be confident in your own value, not just pretend to be, but actually believe it. Because when you genuinely know your worth, everything about the way you show up changes. The energy you bring into a room shifts. The way people perceive you shifts. And more importantly, the way men respond to you shifts. Let's break this down, because I know confidence sounds like one of those buzzwords that people throw around, but what does it actually look like? It's not about walking into a room thinking you're the hottest person there. It's not about proving anything to anyone. It's about showing up knowing that you are already enough without needing validation from anyone. I'll give you a little example. Imagine you're at a party and there's a guy you find attractive. Most people immediately start thinking, how do I impress him? What can I say to make him like me? But the moment you think like that, you've already lost. Because what you're really doing is putting him on a pedestal. And the second someone senses they're on a pedestal, the dynamic shifts. He doesn't have to work for your attention anymore. He doesn't have to bring anything to the table. And suddenly you're in this weird, anxious energy where you're trying to earn someone who hasn't even proven they deserve you yet. But now let's flip that. Imagine you walk into that same party, and instead of thinking, how do I impress him? You think, I wonder if someone I'd actually enjoy talking to. Do you see the difference? One version of you is chasing while the other is choosing. One version is nervous and self-conscious while the other is relaxed and curious. That's confidence. It's not a performance. It's a mindset. And confidence, real confidence, is what makes people stop and take notice. You ever see someone who isn't conventionally the most attractive person in the room, but somehow they have this magnetism? It's because they know they bring something valuable just by being themselves. They aren't constantly seeking approval. They don't overcompensate. They just show up fully comfortable in who they are. And that is intoxicating. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if I don't feel that way yet? What if deep down, I still question whether I'm enough? First of all, that's normal. We all have those moments. But confidence isn't about never having doubts. It's about not letting those doubts dictate how you move. It's about showing up in spite of them. Here's a little trick that will change the way you see yourself instantly. Instead of focusing on whether or not you're good enough for someone, start asking yourself if they're good enough for you. Are they kind? Are they emotionally mature? Do they make you feel safe and appreciated? When you flip the script like this, you stop playing the role of the applicant and start seeing yourself as the prize. And when you genuinely believe you're the prize, people start treating you like one. And listen, I get it. There are going to be moments where you really like someone and you want so badly for it to work out. And in those moments, the temptation is to chase, to prove yourself, to go out of your way, to show them how great you are. But let me tell you something, a high-value person never begs to be chosen. They show up as themselves. And if the other person can't see their value, they're not afraid to walk away. That's the real test of confidence. Not just how you act when things are going well, but how you handle it when someone isn't giving you the attention or effort you deserve. And I know that can feel scary. I know walking away feels counterintuitive, especially if you really like someone. But what's more attractive than someone who doesn't need to force anything? Someone who says, hey, I think I'm pretty amazing. And if you don't see that, that's okay. But I'm not going to spend my time trying to convince you. That is power. That is the kind of energy that makes people step up or step aside. Because here's the truth. The people who are worth your time, they don't need to be chased. They don't need to be convinced. They recognize your value because they have value themselves. And when you operate from a place of confidence, from a place of I know what I bring to the table, you naturally start attracting people who are on the same level. So next time you walk into a room, don't think about who you need to impress. Don't shrink yourself. Don't adjust to fit what you think someone else wants. Just show up as the person who already knows she's enough. Because the moment you start believing in your own value, really believing it, everything changes. Of all the things that make someone attractive, you know what's often the most overlooked? Playfulness. The ability to create fun, light-hearted moments that make someone feel good just by being around you. You might think attraction is all about looking your best, saying the right things, or playing hard to get. But if you really want to capture someone's attention and keep it, you have to master the art of playful banter. Because let me tell you something, people don't fall for the person who just looks good on paper. They fall for the person who makes them feel something. Think about the last time you met someone who had you completely hooked. Chances are, it wasn't just because of how they looked, it was the way they made you laugh, the way they made even the most ordinary conversation fun, the way you felt a little spark of excitement when they spoke. That's what playfulness does. It creates chemistry effortlessly. And the best part? It doesn't require you to change anything about yourself. It's not about being someone you're not. It's about tapping into that part of you that's naturally charismatic, that knows how to enjoy the moment without overthinking it. Here's the problem most people run into. They take flirting way too seriously. They think it's about saying the perfect thing, making sure they don't say anything embarrassing or coming across as super cool and mysterious. But the moment you start treating attraction like a performance, it stops feeling real, and worse, it stops being fun. When you're too in your head, worrying about whether you're doing it right, the person you're talking to can feel that. And instead of creating that light, effortless connection, the whole interaction feels forced. So how do you get out of your head and into a more playful state? You have to stop seeing attraction as something to achieve and start seeing it as something to experience. Let's say you're talking to a guy you're attracted to. Instead of trying to impress him, what if your only goal was to have fun in that moment? What if you let go of trying to say the perfect thing and instead just focused on playing with the conversation? For example, imagine he says, "I love cooking." Instead of the usual response, "Oh, that's cool. What do you like to cook?" Which is fine, but pretty forgettable. Try something playful. Maybe you say, "Good to know. I'll be expecting a 5-course meal by next week. Don't disappoint me." Now, suddenly, it's not just a regular conversation, it's a game. It invites him to play along. He might respond with, "Only if you promise to do the dishes." And just like that, you've created a dynamic that feels flirty, effortless, and fun. And that's what makes playfulness so powerful. It takes an average conversation and turns it into something memorable. It creates a feeling. And people might forget what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. A lot of people think being flirty means being overly suggestive or giving constant compliments, but that's actually the opposite of what works. True flirtation is all about contrast. It's about giving someone a little push and pull, a little challenge. Think of it like a dance. If you're just pouring out attention with no resistance, it's too easy. But if you throw in a little teasing, a little back and forth, suddenly there's tension, there's excitement. It's not just about making someone feel good, it's about making them want more. And this isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about shifting the energy of an interaction so that it feels exciting rather than predictable. Imagine a guy tries to impress you by saying, "I go to the gym 5 times a week." Most people would respond with, "Oh, wow, that's great." But a playful response? 5 times? That's cute. Talk to me when you're there 7. It's teasing, but it's light, it's not mean-spirited, and it creates an instant moment of chemistry. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if I'm not naturally witty? What if I don't know how to banter like that? That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be a comedian or a smooth talker. You just have to be present. You have to be willing to stop filtering yourself so much and just respond in the moment. And honestly, the best way to get better at this is to practice. Start playing with conversations in everyday life, not just with people you're attracted to, but with everyone. The barista at the coffee shop, your co-workers, your friends. The more you make playful banter a part of your daily interactions, the easier it becomes when you're talking to someone you actually like. And let me tell you something else. Playfulness isn't just attractive, it's irresistible. Because the truth is, life is serious enough already. Most people are stressed, distracted, caught up in their own world. When you're the person who brings a little lightness into their day, who makes them forget their worries, even for a moment, you become unforgettable. You don't need to be the most beautiful person in the room. You don't need to have the perfect pickup line. You just need to know how to create moments of fun and connection. Because at the end of the day, people don't remember what outfit you wore or what impressive thing you said. They remember how much they enjoyed being around you. And if you can master that, if you can bring that energy into your interactions, trust me, they'll be hooked. Most people think attraction is about looks, and sure, physical attraction plays a role, but let's be honest, how many times have you met someone who was objectively attractive but left you feeling nothing? On the other hand, how many times have you met someone who maybe didn't stand out at first, but the more you talk to them, the more interesting, magnetic, and downright irresistible they became? That's because real attraction isn't just about how someone looks. It's about how they make you feel. And if you want to create the kind of attraction that lasts, the kind that keeps someone thinking about you long after you've left the room, you have to go beyond the surface. You have to create emotional attraction. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What does that even mean? Emotional attraction is the thing that makes someone feel deeply connected to you. It's the reason why a guy can meet 10 people in a night, but there's one person he can't stop thinking about. It's what makes someone crave not just your presence, but your energy, your mind, the way you see the world. And here's the best part. Unlike physical attraction, which fades if there's nothing deeper underneath, emotional attraction only gets stronger over time. So how do you create it? It starts with the way you engage with someone. Most conversations are forgettable because they stay at the surface. You know the type. Where are you from? What do you do? How was your weekend? These conversations don't create any real spark. They don't make someone feel something. Emotional attraction happens when you break away from the ordinary and connect in a way that feels real. It's about being curious, asking the kinds of questions that actually matter, and most importantly, showing who you are instead of just trying to impress. Imagine you're talking to a guy and he says something like, yeah, I work in finance. Most people would just respond with, oh, cool. Do you like it? But what if instead you said, all right, but if money didn't exist and you could do anything, what would you actually be doing? See what that does? It shifts the conversation. It makes it more interesting. It makes him think. And suddenly, instead of just answering on autopilot, he's engaging with you on a deeper level. And that's what emotional attraction is about. It's about making someone feel like they can be themselves around you. When you create an environment where someone feels seen, understood, and challenged in a good way, that's when they start to crave your presence. That's when they realize this person is different. But here's where a lot of people go wrong. They think emotional connection means oversharing or trying to force intimacy too fast. Have you ever been on a date where someone immediately starts telling you their whole life story, unloading all their problems and treating you like their therapist? That's not emotional attraction. That's emotional dumping. There's a difference. Emotional attraction is built gradually through moments of connection, curiosity, and shared experiences. It's not about laying everything out all at once. It's about revealing parts of yourself over time in a way that keeps someone wanting to know more. And it's not just about what you say. It's about how you make someone feel in your presence. Think about the people you're drawn to. Chances are they have a certain energy about them. They're not just talking at you. They make you feel heard, like your words actually matter. And that's because they're present. And if you want to create real attraction, you have to be present too. Most people are distracted. They're thinking about what they're going to say next, checking their phone, or worrying about how they're coming across. But when you're fully engaged in a conversation, when you actually listen to what someone is saying instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, it creates a completely different experience. It makes the person you're with feel important, like they're the only one in the room. And that feeling, that's addictive. But emotional attraction isn't just about connection. It's also about challenge. Attraction isn't just about making someone feel comfortable. It's also about keeping things interesting. If everything is too easy, if there's no excitement, no tension, no element of surprise, things get boring fast. That's why the most attractive people know how to balance warmth with a little bit of unpredictability. They don't just agree with everything someone says. They challenge their opinions in a way that's fun and engaging. They don't just follow the script. They shake things up. Think about it like this. If someone asks you, what do you do for fun? You could give the typical answer. I like to go out with friends, watch movies, travel. Or you could say, I have a rule. I have to try one thing every month that scares me a little. This month, I took a salsa class and I was terrible. But now I'm determined to get better. See the difference? One answer is forgettable. The other makes someone want to know more about you. It makes them curious. It keeps them engaged. That's the key. Emotional attraction isn't just about being open and vulnerable. It's about being interesting. It's about bringing something to the table that makes someone think, I don't want this conversation to end. And when you can do that, when you can create that spark that goes beyond just looks, beyond small talk, beyond the surface, that's when you stop being just another person in the room and start being the one they can't stop thinking about. And that kind of attraction, that's the kind that lasts. There's something incredibly powerful about a person who knows exactly what they want and refuses to settle for anything less. And yet when it comes to dating, so many people lower their standards just to keep someone around. They make excuses. They tolerate inconsistency. They put up with half-hearted effort, all because they're afraid that if they ask for more, they'll scare the person away. But let me ask you this. Why would you ever want to keep someone who isn't willing to meet you where you deserve to be met? Attraction isn't just about how much someone likes you. It's about how much they respect you. And respect is built through the standards you set. When you carry yourself with the energy of someone who knows their worth, people pick up on that. They can feel it. And that's the difference between someone who gets treated as an option and someone who is seen as a priority. The truth is, people will treat you however you allow them to. If you make it easy for someone to give you the bare minimum and still have access to you, they'll do exactly that. Not because they're terrible people, but because human nature is wired to take the path of least resistance. If there's no consequence to inconsistency, why would they change? If they can cancel last minute, disappear for days, or only put in effort when it's convenient for them and still have you there, answering their texts, making plans, showing up, then you're telling them this is okay with me. But when you set a higher standard, when you show that you have boundaries and that you're not afraid to enforce them, suddenly the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, you're not just another person they can take for granted. You become someone they have to step up for. And that's where real attraction is built. Now, I know what some people might be thinking, but what if I set a standard and they don't meet it? That's the whole point. You don't set standards to change people. You set standards to filter out the ones who are never right for you in the first place. Because the person who is truly interested, the person who truly values you, won't be intimidated by your standards. They'll be inspired by them. A lot of people confuse having high standards with being difficult or demanding, but that's not what this is about. High standards don't mean expecting perfection. They don't mean making a long list of requirements that no one could ever live up to. High standards simply mean knowing what you will and won't accept and being willing to walk away from anything that doesn't align with that. And this isn't just about how someone treats you. It's also about how you treat yourself. When you have high standards, it means you don't abandon your own life, your own happiness, or your own goals just because you meet someone you like. It means you don't drop everything to be available the second they text. It means you maintain your independence, your friendships, your passions, because you know that your life isn't on hold while you wait for someone to choose you. Think about the people you admire most, the ones you respect, the ones who naturally command attention when they walk into a room. What do they all have in common? They don't need anyone to validate them. They aren't desperate for approval. They know exactly who they are and what they bring to the table. And because of that, people are naturally drawn to them. That's the energy you want to bring into dating. Not the energy of someone who is trying to convince another person to stay, but the energy of someone who is evaluating whether this person even deserves a place in their life. That's what makes someone irresistible. Not how much they chase, not how much they accommodate, but how much they value themselves. And here's the reality. Not everyone is going to meet your standards. Not everyone is going to step up. And that's okay. Because every time someone walks away, you're one step closer to finding the person who won't, the person who sees your value and chooses to rise to it. When you set high standards and enforce them, you're not just attracting better people, you're also building a stronger version of yourself. Because every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, every time you refuse to settle for less than you deserve, you're reinforcing the belief that you are worthy of more. And when you truly believe that, the world starts to reflect it back to you. So don't be afraid to set the bar high. Don't be afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't meet the level of love, effort, and respect that you bring to the table, because the right person won't see your standards as a challenge. They'll see them as a privilege, and they'll be more than happy to meet them. There's something incredibly attractive about a person who exudes confidence without ever having to say, I'm confident. It's in the way they move, the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, like they know they belong in any room they walk into. And yet, when it comes to dating, so many people second guess themselves. They overthink every text, worry about every interaction, and try so hard to say and do the right things that they lose sight of the most powerful tool they have, their own self-assurance. Confidence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It's not about arrogance, and it's not about pretending to be something you're not. Real confidence is quiet. It's unshakable. It's the ability to show up as your full self without needing constant validation. And the moment you start embodying that kind of energy, people notice, because confidence is magnetic. The mistake many people make is thinking that confidence is something you either have or you don't. But that's not true. Confidence is built. It's a practice. And the way you build it is by proving to yourself over and over again that you are enough exactly as you are. That means showing up in every area of your life with the mindset that you are already valuable, already worthy, already someone that any man would be lucky to have. But here's where a lot of people get stuck. They wait for external validation to feel confident. They think, once someone shows interest in me, then I'll feel attractive. Once I get into a relationship, then I'll feel worthy. But confidence doesn't work that way. If you're waiting for someone else to make you feel valuable, you'll always be at the mercy of their opinions, their actions, their attention. And that's a dangerous place to be, because it means your sense of self-worth is always dependent on them. Real confidence comes from the belief that you are already whole, that whether or not someone chooses you, you are still enough, that whether or not someone texts back, asks you out, or shows up in the way you hope they would, your value remains unchanged. That's the kind of confidence that makes someone irresistible. Because when you carry yourself with that level of self-assurance, it signals to everyone around you that you are not desperate for approval. You are not waiting for someone to pick you. You are the prize. And this isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending to be uninterested or acting like you don't care. It's about truly embodying the mindset that your happiness, your self-esteem, and your sense of worth are not dependent on anyone else. When you have that, you become someone people are naturally drawn to because you don't need them. You choose them, and that makes all the difference. There's a reason why people are so attracted to those who seem to have their own thing going on. When you're engaged in your own life, when you're passionate about what you do, when you're constantly growing and evolving, you bring an energy that's exciting to be around. You don't show up to a date hoping to be entertained or validated. You show up as someone who already feels fulfilled. And that's rare. Most people don't realize how much their energy communicates before they even say a word. If you walk into an interaction unsure of yourself, feeling like you have something to prove or fearing rejection, that energy is felt. But if you walk in with the attitude of, I already know who I am and what I bring to the table, everything shifts. The way you speak, the way you make eye contact, the way you hold yourself, it all changes. And the person in front of you can feel it. And let's be real, confidence is sexy because it creates certainty. People are drawn to those who make them feel secure, who aren't easily rattled, who bring a steady, unwavering presence into their lives. When you embody that, when you radiate a sense of self-trust, it allows the other person to relax and feel at ease around you. And that's powerful. But confidence doesn't mean you never feel insecure. It doesn't mean you don't have moments of doubt. It means that even when those moments come, you don't let them control you. You don't let them dictate how you show up. You acknowledge them, but you don't let them define you. That's the difference between someone who is truly confident and someone who is just faking it. If you ever find yourself in a moment of doubt, wondering if you're good enough, if you're attractive enough, if you're saying the right things, stop and ask yourself, would I still be proud of who I am even if this person didn't choose me? Because if the answer is yes, then you're already winning. You've already stepped into the kind of confidence that makes you unforgettable. At the end of the day, confidence isn't just about attracting someone else. It's about the way you feel about yourself when no one else is watching. It's about carrying yourself in a way that shows the world you know your worth, whether or not anyone else recognizes it. And when you live from that place, the right people won't just be attracted to you, they'll gravitate towards you. One of the biggest mistakes people make in dating is thinking that once they've attracted someone, the work is done. That once a man is interested, all they have to do is keep things going the way they are and the connection will naturally deepen. But attraction isn't a one-time event. It's not something you create once and then just hope it lasts. Real attraction, the kind that keeps a man engaged and invested long-term, has to be nurtured. It has to evolve. The reason so many relationships fizzle out isn't because the attraction wasn't there to begin with. It's because it wasn't sustained. The spark that was once so exciting starts to fade because the dynamic becomes predictable. The mystery disappears. The excitement dulls. And without realizing it, two people go from deeply interested in each other to simply going through the motions. Sustaining attraction isn't about playing games or trying to keep someone on their toes with artificial tactics. It's about continuing to bring the same energy that made them interested in the first place. It's about making sure that just because someone has chosen you, you don't stop being the person they were drawn to. So many people think, now that I have them, I can relax. I don't have to put in as much effort anymore. But that's where they go wrong, because attraction isn't something you win. It's something you continuously build. Think about the version of yourself that someone was originally drawn to. Maybe you were confident, exciting, unpredictable in the best way. Maybe you had a life that felt full and independent. Maybe you brought a certain playfulness, a certain challenge, a certain depth that made them think, wow, this person is different. That's the energy that needs to continue, even once they're yours, because attraction dies when we stop bringing that energy into the relationship. One of the most attractive things in the world is growth. When you continue to evolve, to challenge yourself, to deepen your interests, to expand your world, you remain someone who is exciting to be around. The moment we become stagnant, the moment we settle into the idea that we no longer have to bring our best, is the moment attraction starts to fade. Because what made you attractive in the first place wasn't just what you had, it was what you embodied. And that has to continue. This doesn't mean you have to constantly be doing something dramatic to keep a man interested. It simply means you should always be growing, not for him, but for you. Because when you're engaged in your own life, when you're passionate about something, when you have a sense of purpose beyond just your relationship, that energy is contagious. It keeps the connection fresh. It keeps the other person curious. And curiosity is one of the most powerful forces in attraction. The moment someone feels like they know everything about you, that there's nothing left to discover, the excitement begins to fade. But when you remain someone who is always growing, always evolving, always bringing something new to the table, they stay intrigued. They continue to feel that spark, that pull towards you. But let's be clear, this isn't about trying to be mysterious or withholding parts of yourself just for the sake of creating intrigue. That's manipulation, not attraction. The real way to sustain attraction is to genuinely keep expanding your world, to remain unpredictable, not because you're playing a game, but because you are constantly evolving into a better version of yourself. It's also about keeping a certain dynamic alive. Think back to the start of a relationship. There was probably excitement, flirty banter, a bit of push and pull that made every interaction feel electric. But over time, people start to lose that playfulness. They become comfortable, which is beautiful, but they also stop creating attraction. They stop teasing. They stop bringing energy. They stop flirting the way they did in the beginning. And then they wonder why things feel different. Sustaining attraction means keeping that playfulness alive. It means not falling into the trap of treating your relationship like a routine. It means still surprising each other, still challenging each other, still making each other feel something. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't just about what you have. It's about how you make someone feel. When a man is around you, does he feel excited? Does he feel inspired? Does he feel like he wants to keep chasing you, not because you're running, but because you're someone worth continuing to win over? That's the key. The most attractive relationships are the ones where both people feel like they're still choosing each other every day, not because they have to, but because they want to. And that's why sustaining attraction isn't just about keeping the other person engaged. It's about making sure you stay engaged, making sure that you are still excited by the relationship, that you are still bringing your best, that you are still the version of yourself that you're proud of. Because when you do that, attraction never fades, it deepens, it grows, and it turns into something that lasts.